Okay, let's try a little thought experiment. When was the last time you were in the grocery store, maybe looking at seasonings, and you saw a bag of sea salt? Right, sea salt.
Yeah.
And it had an organic label slapped on it?
Uh,
Did you kind of stop and just think, hang on, who is out there spraying pesticides on salt? Like an actual mineral from the ocean.
It's that moment, isn't it, where the helpful vibe of the grocery store just like evaporates and you suddenly feel like you're navigating this minefield of marketing jargon.
Exactly, a minefield designed to make you spend more. Because look, if you just blindly think, oh, organic, that must be safer, I'll get that, you could be paying, what, 50, maybe even 80% more?
Easily, sometimes for absolutely zero real health benefit. You're essentially paying a premium for the confusion itself.
Right. And that's what we're going to tackle today. We want to cut through all that noise, the greenwashing, the fancy labels.
Yeah, our mission today is really twofold. One, expose the outright marketing scams that prey on that desire to be healthy. And two, maybe more importantly, pinpoint where that organic label is actually a crucial health defense, something you really should look for.
Okay, so maybe we should start with the basics. What does organic even mean? Because even that's kind of fuzzy.
Fundamentally, it's supposed to mean food produced without synthetic chemical inputs. So, no synthetic pesticides, no herbicides, no antibiotics for livestock, no synthetic feed. Sounds simple.
If only. But then you get these tiers, these loopholes.
Ah, yes, the loopholes. This is where marketers really leverage the perception of quality, often without the full commitment.
Let's break down those labels that trip people up.
Okay, first you've got food made with organic ingredients. Sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah, sounds decent.
Until you realize that legally just means 70% or more of the ingredients have to be organic. 70.
Wait, so like 30% can still be the regular, maybe heavily sprayed conventional stuff. That feels like a huge gap.
It is. It's a massive loophole they hope you just gloss over. Then you step up to just the word organic, or the USDA organic seal. That means at least 95% organic ingredients.
Better, but still not everything.
Right. Only when it says 100% organic does it mean every single component, right down to the processing aids or maybe colors, meets the standard.
And this whole tiered system, this is kind of the gateway drug for what you call the organic junk food problem, isn't it?
Oh, totally. The organic Pop-Tart. It's the perfect example of that health halo effect.
Yeah, you see organic on the box.
And maybe the flour's organic, maybe they used organic sugar instead of regular refined sugar. But fundamentally, it's still loaded with, massive amounts of sugar and processed starch.
It's like you said before we started, it's like putting a tiny little organic sun hat on this huge mountain of sugar.
Exactly. It doesn't magically make the mountain healthy. It doesn't change the glycemic load or the fact that it's ultra-processed food.
You just paid maybe 80% more for basically the same junk food hit, just with a slightly better conscience, perhaps?
Precisely. It's the perception, not the reality of health. It's like buying, I don't know, super expensive running shoes just to walk to the end of your driveway. It's a statement, not really a functional upgrade.
Okay. And you also mentioned something about hydroponics, even in fresh produce.
Yeah, that's another layer of complexity. Hydroponic, organic, produce grown in water with minerals added, no soil. It can get the organic label,
What?
but it's missing stuff. The interaction with rich soil provides nutrients, microbes, things you just don't get from water, and added minerals alone. So the label doesn't guarantee that full nutritional profile we often associate with traditional organic farming.
That's a really important point. Okay, so we've seen how marketing gets us to pay more for organic sugar. Now let's talk about where they trick us into paying more for, well, rocks and stuff. Let's dive into the marketing hall of shame. Stuff you should probably never buy organic.
Let's start with the most absurd category, the pure mineral and wild absurdity group.
And leading the charge is organic sea salt. We started there. Let's nail it down. It's a mineral, sodium chloride.
Right. No pest is trying to eat it. Nobody's spraying it with anything. It's pure marketing. Full stop.
So if you want good salt, look for maybe pink Himalayan, Celtic, Redmond Real Salt, Baja Gold, fine. But organic, meaningless.
Totally irrelevant. And right behind salt, baking soda, sodium bicarbonate.
It's an alkaline mineral compound. They mine it.
The idea that it needs an organic certification is just baffling. Just make sure it says food grade. And don't confuse it with baking powder, which sometimes has aluminum added. A separate issue.
Got it. And staying with the theme of things that are basically minerals in water, organic mineral water, seriously.
What, are they spraying the spring? With organic pesticides, it's water.
Pure marketing, making that $6 bottle feel somehow superior to the $4 one.
And the same logic really applies to anything truly wild-caught. Think wild salmon. Or game meat, like elk, venison, wild boar.
How on earth do you certify what a wild animal eats?
You can't. That's the point. The animal eats whatever it finds in the wild. An organic label on wild fish or game means absolutely nothing. Save your cash.
Okay, mineral absurdities dealt with. Let's move to the next category where nature's already got it covered. The hard shell defense.
Top of this list, avocados. Yes, conventional ones might get sprayed.
Right.
But that shell, it's incredibly thick, really tough. Pesticides just don't penetrate that barrier to reach the part you actually eat.
So paying 50–80% more for organic avocados.
It's essentially just setting money on fire from a pesticide residue perspective.
Okay, wait, let me push back a little here. What about systemic pesticides? You know, the ones the plant absorbs through the roots and then they end up in the fruit itself. Doesn't the shell matter less then?
That's a fair question, a really important one. And yes, systemic pesticides are a concern for some particularly thin-skinned fruits. However, with avocados, given the tree's physiology and how long the fruit takes to develop, the primary risk remains that topical spray residue. The skin is just such an effective barrier that, for most people, the extra cost for organic probably isn't justified by the tiny potential reduction in systemic residues. It's a cost-benefit thing.
All right. I buy that strategic thinking. Man, the money I've wasted on organic avocados.
Yeah.
Painful. Okay, what else has this natural armor?
Most nuts with hard shells. Think walnuts, pecans, Brazil nuts, which are, by the way, a fantastic source of selenium, really good for you. Macadamia nuts, too.
Nature built them a little suit of armor?
Exactly. The hard shell keeps the bad stuff out.
And the king of hard shells, the coconut?
Oh, yeah. You practically need power tools to open one. Zero chance any topical spray is getting through that. Buying organic coconuts is purely for show.
Okay, third defense group, the peel-off defense. Stuff that might get sprayed, but you remove the outside anyway.
Right. Take cabbage. It's not usually a super heavily sprayed crop to begin with. But even if it is, you just peel off those outer couple of leaves. The pesticides don't really penetrate into that dense, tightly packed core.
And the classic example, bananas.
That thick peel does the job. Pesticides don't reach the fruit inside. No real need to buy organic bananas.
All right, so we've covered the mineral scams, the hard shells, the peel-offs. Hopefully saved everyone some money. Now, let's flip it. Where do you absolutely need to spend that extra cash strategically? Let's talk about the chemical sponge club.
Yes, the sponge club. These are the foods that just soak up everything they're exposed to. Thin skins, porous structures.
They're vulnerable.
Exactly. And maybe the ultimate sponge is the peanut.
Peanuts. Why?
Well, think about it. Very thin shell, right? They grow in the soil, which can hold residues. And crucially, they're super prone to mold and fungus. So conventional peanut farming often involves heavy treatment with fungicides and other chemicals to combat that mold. That thin shell growing in the dirt. It means the peanut's basically absorbing all that stuff.
So if you eat peanuts or peanut butter regularly,
it really has to be organic. Non-negotiable if you want to minimize that chemical load.
Makes total sense. They have no armor, like you said. What else is in the sponge club?
Following that same logic, thin-skinned berries. Strawberries are notorious. Grapes, cherries, no shell, right? They get sprayed heavily.
And the chemicals go right in?
Straight into the fruit you eat. If you buy conventional berries, especially strawberries and grapes, you are getting pesticide residue, period. These really should be organic whenever possible.
Apples. They have a skin.
They do, but apples are also heavily sprayed. And that skin offers way less protection than, say, a walnut shell. Peeling definitely helps reduce residue on apples, but organic is still the safer bet, especially if you eat the skin.
Okay. And leafy greens.
Spinach is a big one, known to be a heavily sprayed commercial crop. If you eat a lot of spinach, organic is important to avoid those residues. Though, personally, I tend to favor arugula or romaine anyway, because spinach is quite high in oxalates, which can be an issue for kidney stones for some people, but that's a different topic.
Good point. Okay, moving beyond the produce aisle, the tropical trio. You mentioned mold and fungus risks driving chemical use.
Exactly. Coffee, tea, and chocolate. These crops love hot, humid, tropical climates.
Which also happen to be perfect breeding grounds for mold and fungus.
Precisely. So to protect the crop and get high yields, conventional farms tend to spray heavily with fungicides and other chemicals.
It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? We think of coffee or tea as these natural things.
But where they grow necessitates heavy treatment in conventional systems. They're essentially bathed in these chemicals.
Wow.
And here's something interesting. Tea, because it's just a leaf, really porous, can often absorb and hold on to even more chemical residue than coffee beans.
So for any of these three, coffee, tea, chocolate, if you consume them regularly?
Organic is really critical.
Yeah.
Ideally, also look for brands that test for mold, but definitely start with organic to minimize the chemical fungicide exposure.
Okay, and one last one, slightly outside the food aisle, but really important, cotton. Why organic cotton?
Because it's not just about ingestion. It's about absorption through the skin or sensitive tissues. Cotton is a massive commercial crop, and conventionally it's sprayed intensely.
Okay, so how does that affect us?
Think about cotton tampons, used internally. Direct absorption pathway for any chemical residues. Same logic applies, maybe to a lesser extent, to baby clothes, bedding, clothing that sits against your skin for hours.
So minimizing chemical exposure through those routes means choosing organic cotton, especially for things like tampons or baby items.
Exactly. It's an important consideration.
Okay. Wow. We've covered a lot, the safe buys, the danger zones. But now, you said there's one distinction that trips up almost everyone, the big one.
Yes. This is probably the single most crucial piece of information that most shoppers miss, and it's where a lot of well-intentioned spending goes wrong. It's the difference between non-GMO and organic.
Because for years, the message has kind of been, avoid GMOs, look for the non-GMO label, right?
That's the assumption, that non-GMO equals safe equals clean.
But it doesn't?
It doesn't tell the whole story. Non-GMO literally just means the food hasn't been genetically modified. That's it. It says nothing about the pesticides or herbicides used, especially, and this is the key part, especially those used right at the end of the farming cycle.
What happens at the end?
Okay, so there's a common practice for certain major crops, particularly grains and legumes. Farmers often use the herbicide glyphosate. You probably know it as Roundup, not primarily as a weed killer during growth, but as a drying agent.
A drying agent, you mean? They deliberately spray a powerful herbicide onto the food crop just before they harvest it, to kill it off and dry it out.
That's exactly what happens. It's called desiccation. It makes the harvest quicker, more uniform, easier to manage logistically. They spray it, the plant dies and dries rapidly, and they can harvest it sooner.
That sounds horrifyingly industrial. Which crops are we talking about?
It's commonly used on things like wheat, oats, lentils, and other pulses like chickpeas or beans, staple foods.
So if I'm buying regular conventional oats for my breakfast, or conventional wheat flour or lentils, they've likely been sprayed with glyphosate just days before harvest.
It's highly likely, yes. That herbicide residue from the drying process is what can end up in the final food product.
And the non-GMO label doesn't protect you from that at all.
Not one bit. Non-GMO allows for this practice because glyphosate isn't related to genetic modification, but the organic label strictly forbids it because glyphosate is a synthetic chemical input prohibited in organic farming.
Wow. Okay, that is huge. So for those specific crops, wheat, oats, lentils, pulses, the organic label isn't just about avoiding pesticides during the growing season. It's absolutely critical to avoid this final stage herbicide residue from the drying process.
That's the crucial takeaway. It makes the organic choice non-negotiable for those particular items if you want to avoid glyphosate residue.
That's really powerful strategic knowledge for shopping.
It is, and that's the goal, right? Knowledge isn't just about being scared of all chemicals. It's about being smart, being strategic with where you spend your money.
Yeah, understanding the real risks. We've learned that hard shell is kind of your budget's best friend, right?
Definitely. And thin skin is the chemical enemy. Use that 50 to 80% price difference wisely.
So we've pinpointed the marketing traps, the things like organic salt or avocados where you can probably save your money. And we've highlighted the chemical sponges, the berries, the peanuts, and these drying agent crops where you really should invest that extra cash.
By focusing your organic budget on where the chemical exposure risk is highest, those thin-skinned items, the tropical stuff like coffee and tea, and definitely those grains and legumes like oats and wheat, you maximize your health defense without just throwing money away unnecessarily.
Okay, so let's leave everyone with this thought for their next grocery trip, maybe for tomorrow morning. When you pour that bowl of oatmeal, if it's not organic, are you really just eating breakfast? Or are you maybe, just maybe, also consuming the chemical residue from an industrial drying process that was only used to speed up the harvest.
Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.